Manchester United nil, Newcastle United 2. And you know what? I have to start by bigging up Newcastle. I think they absolutely put us to the sword. They were brilliant. Um, and we got what we deserved. I think everything went wrong today. Everything that could go wrong went wrong today. And I called this before the game as why I did not fancy us to win this game. You look at our record against the top 12 away from home. It's been really, really bad. Obviously, only beating Fulham. And that sort of performance where you knew that Newcastle would be at it, you knew that the occasion would be big, you knew that the crowd would be up for it, the intensity would be there from Newcastle. You just knew what sort of game to expect. And with no striker, with the midfield, what we knew what it probably would be, I just feared the worst. But I can't take anything away from Newcastle. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. They absolutely battered us. And you know what? We've been on the end of some hidings, obviously, this season. 7-0, obviously, at Liverpool. 6-3 at City, 4-0 at Brentford, 3-1 at Villa, etc., etc. And actually, the level of performance today was pretty much the same. It wasn't far off. It was many shots galore from Newcastle. We had no rhythm, we had no intensity, we weren't creating chances, didn't even have a shot on target in the first half, and it just went from bad to worse from minute one. And actually, it was down to poor finishing from Newcastle why that wasn't 5-6-0. And I'm going to start with Eric Ten Hag actually, because I very, very rarely, I don't think once really this season, I've criticised some of the decisions that he made, but actually all the gambles that he made didn't pay off today. I think it's important to start there. We'll talk about the players in a minute and why it didn't go so well, but that gamble to play Scott McTominay further ahead as an advanced midfielder behind the striker just did not work. Did not work. He played absolutely awful. He's obviously tried to go with the physicality, the height, and also the fact that he's done well in international break and scored, 4 goals in 2 games, 2 coming against Spain. Doesn't work. Does not work. Did not work. And Scott McTominay was really bad. And actually, by half time, even before that, but by half time, that midfield had to change. It absolutely had to change. It was poor with Bruno and Sabitzer in the deeper line sixes. There was no relationship in there. And Newcastle feasted on that, absolutely feasted on it. We had no answer for Newcastle's right-hand side, Trippier, getting so much of the ball. And he's a clever, clever player. When you give him that much time on the ball, he will make problems for us. And that's what he did. He was, getting too much time on the ball. That was poor. We were losing duels. And Newcastle were missing big chances. David De Gea, he keeps the scoreline respectable. He literally kept the scoreline respectable. Just went from bad to worse. So at halftime, I will say that Eric, I think, should have changed it. Wout Weghorst as well. Again, playing with no striker. And look, you can't criticise him for being there because it's not his fault. He's working his arse off. He's trying, but he's just not at the required level. And we really, really felt that. Actually, the only positive, which obviously there's not many positives when you lose, but the only thing you can look at is the fact that actually Anthony Martial managed to play half an hour, didn't get injured, and actually looked all right. I'm going to criticise Eric Ten Hag for taking off Anthony as well. I thought actually in a really, really poor performance, especially first half and a little bit of second half before Anthony came off, he was the only player actually doing anything. He was kept Dan Burn occupied. He was winning, one-on-one battles against him and keeping him occupied. And I was surprised to see him come off. So that was another bad decision that ended up not working. And then I get it, when we're 1-0 down, he tries to go, hell bent, hell for leather, risk losing 2-0 to try and get a draw, damn his limitation, takes off 2 centre-backs, and we can see straight away that didn't work. So literally every single one of Eric Ten Hag's decisions went wrong, apart from Anthony Martial coming on and getting injured and had to go off, something ridiculous like that. But it was just so poor. And it's been a common theme. It's been a common theme this season, playing against, teams in the top half, like I said, from 12th upwards. One win. And you know what? It is top 4 battle on. Scrap for top 4. That is what it is. It is a scrap for top 4. And this is why when we was doing okay during the season, I'm not saying that it's all done, but when we were doing okay and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, looking forward, looking up, and I was always of the opinion, excuse me, under the weather today really badly. I was always under of the opinion of, I just want to get that separation between us and the rest of the pack, and we never really truly had it. And Newcastle absolutely deserved it. They put us to the sword, and now it is an absolute dogfight, top four dogfight. That's what this is. You know, Spurs, you can say that they're inconsistent and they're in crisis, is what it is. But, you know, Liverpool are still there. Newcastle, they ain't going away. They absolutely smashed us today. And it is a top four scrap. And we've got to put it right straight away against Brentford, which is not going to be an easy game midweek. It really, really was poor. And you know what? I get that we can't fix everything this season. You know, I think when the midfield is what it is, when we know there's no Casemiro, I understand that. We've got to play with an emergency striker, I understand that. You know, look, they had Isak up top. Look at the difference between that. You know, in their midfield, though, they had Longstaff, obviously Bruno Guimaraes, he's a good player. Um, and Joe Willock. You know, it wasn't like they were star-studded in there, but they got their system and they just worked harder than us, and it just did not work having McTominay playing further forward. And I just can't believe that Eric Ten Hag didn't change it. You know, they just absolutely ruined us. They really, really did. And it just went from bad to worse. From minute one, you knew the writing was on the wall. We were just waiting to concede. Marcus Rashford couldn't get involved in the game, nowhere to be seen. And actually, the biggest problem that we've got as well in midfield, you know, even with Casemiro there, is actually when Eriksen isn't there, which obviously we've been without him for a long time, but we have such a lack of quality in terms of retaining the ball. You know, we just don't have it in our midfield. Bruno's not the type of player who is going to play high percentage possession-based game and building up patiently. That's never been his job, so I'm not going to get onto him for playing the way that he does. That's how he is. And people may question his playing style going forward under Eric Ten Hag when he gets this midfield to where he wants it to be. But at the moment, that's never been his game. Scott McTominay can't do that. Sabitzer, only just coming to the team, trying to find his feet, was average today again. Some decent moments, but some bad ones as well. It's just a very fractious midfield with nobody that can put their foot on the ball and say, I'm going to dictate the tempo of this game. I'm going to take the sting out of this game for 5-10 minutes and just settle us down a little bit. Get on the ball. Going to drop out of central midfield. Come pick it up off the back four. Give it to the left back. Then give me it back again. Go back to the centre back. Give me it back. Play a couple balls between the lines. Go back up the play. Go get it back off them. No one to kind of dictate the play. And Christian Eriksen is that guy. And that is a big, big problem for us in midfield, as well as obviously not having the striker. I mean, without Weghorst, again, I hate to keep going back there, but it's literally like playing with 10 men. It is. And that's not being disrespectful to Val. He's trying his hardest, but he just isn't good enough, is he? He just isn't good enough. So those things, yeah, I get as to why we ain't good enough. But, you know, the tactical decisions today and tactically, we just weren't ready for it. And actually, Newcastle, they thoroughly deserved it. We got absolutely moved to. And like I said, that could have been 4, 5, 6-0. The level of performance was up there with actually how bad it was away at Brentford and, you know, at Liverpool and at Villa when we got smashed as well, at City. It's just that Newcastle weren't clinical. By half-time, that should have been about 2 or 3-0. You know, how it wasn't, I do not know. And you just knew that the first goal was coming. Wasn't a surprise when it did. Diogo Dalot as well, I want to talk about him. Massive miss not having Aaron Wan-Bissaka there, but Dalot had a torrid time against St. Maximum. Not fouling him every single time, but just having to be up against him in a one-on-one duel so consistently. And you can talk about that being structural. You can talk about that, you know, Anthony needing to get back and help him and etc. But Diogo Dalot he looked exhausted at one stage. He looked mentally drained, physically drained by just having that overload on that side and the likes of, you know, St. Maximum just keep going at him the whole time. And Dan Burn trying to get involved as well. That whole side as well gave Dalot a torrid time. So that didn't help us at all. And then, like I said, Eric Ten Hag, he goes for it. It doesn't work. Takes off both centre backs, which was, look, we lost to 1-0 or 2-0 would have been the same thing. You know, 1-0 would have felt like a 4-0 defeat because it really was that bad anyway. And the game was done. You know, Sabitzer, Bruno, McTominay, just nowhere near it today. And like I said, even if we would have had Casemiro today, I don't think the result would have been that much different in terms of the way we played. I know he's been brilliant for us, but in terms of putting a foot on the ball, well, actually, maybe it would have made a bit of a difference, of course, because he's a fantastic player. And we really, really feel it when he's not there. But just in general, our midfield is just not where it needs to be. It really isn't. But for the big games away, obviously, Casemiro hasn't always played on all of them, which has been a downer. We've got to dust ourselves down quick. You know, the most annoying thing about today is that Eric Ten Hag literally said the season starts here. You know, we're going into murky territory now where all of the hard work that we've done to get ourselves into a position to be able to finish the season strongly can be undone with a string of bad results. And Just like when we've had bad defeats this year, which literally has been every single time we've played away from home against the top half against Fulham, which we had to win in the last minute. Every time we've had to do that away from home, we've managed to bounce back. So we do need a little bit of calm. It is a positive that Anthony Martial's back into the team, and actually he did look okay. He did look okay. Coming on, that's a positive, but he ain't gonna be able to play 90 minutes anytime soon. But he's got to start starting football matches. But that's the only positive from today. And Christian Eriksen is back in training, and my God, do we need him back? That's 2 games down now for Casemiro, another 2 to go that he's going to miss. We need him back desperately as well to get some sort of calm in the midfield. But other than that, a really, really bad day at the office. One that I technically predicted. Went with a draw through gritted teeth. Went with a 1-0 through gritted teeth. But deep down, I did not fancy this game. I didn't. And you know what? Hats off to Newcastle. I said it to Matty. Obviously, he was really confident in his team, said 2-1. But they absolutely put it on us. I didn't fancy the occasion, and our players didn't fancy it too. And everything that went wrong, that could have went wrong, and it is a top 4 scrap. It is a battle for top 4. It is a top 4 dogfight now on our hands. Do not get it twisted as to where we are. It's great that we're in this position in the season in terms of FA Cup semi-final, quarter-final Europa League, 1 trophy in the bag, etc., etc. But the league, I'm telling you now, like we've always known, like Eric Ten Hag says, we have to be in that top 4. And now it is a real battle, a real dogfight. And we're going to see what we're made of, because Newcastle won it. 1 game a week, a chance to prepare for every game, being fresh. They're not going to, start slipping up. Liverpool, fair enough. Spurs, fair enough. It is a dogfight. I'm not saying those teams are brilliant. But we're in the mud as well a little bit right now. And if we don't beat Brentford, it starts getting very, very techie. Especially if Liverpool beat Chelsea, which they've got every chance of doing at Stamford Bridge, because Chelsea are actually awful. Spurs, we're a game ahead of them. Level on points, I think we are, if I'm not mistaken. Level on 1 point above Spurs. Spurs go to Everton tomorrow night. We can all laugh and say, I don't think they'll win that. But if they do, again, big statement, and they start to build momentum. So, look, it's all to play for. We're in a tough position, but we can still put this right. We can still stabilize, calm ourselves down, and refocus. That's what it's got to be. This game's gone. Has it been concerning? Is it worrying that we keep going into the big games away from home and struggling? Yes, it is, because actually still got to play Brighton away from home as well. That's going to be extremely tough. And then we've got some of the teams facing relegation away from home. That's going to be tough. People like Nottingham Forest away, people like Bournemouth away. Tough games at this end of the season. So, boy, buckle in, guys. It's going to be a topsy-turvy situation, because it is not going to be easy. It really is not. I'm out of here, guys. See you again soon. Peace.